close to Rubicon. Wake the dog up.
This is Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon, the sixth installment in this classic franchise which began during the PS1 era back in 1997, with its most recent release being in 2013, but not anymore. 10 years later, and thanks to one of the greatest developers of our current time, FromSoftware, this baby is back, and oh my god is it back with a vengeance.
Time to get to work, 621.
Now before we go any further, the first thing I have to do is thank everybody at Bandai Namco. It's not every day that I get to do things like this and review games, not only games that I care about, but games that I care about from one of my favorite developers ever. So this really means a lot to me, and I greatly appreciate this opportunity. So thank you very much everybody one more time at Bandai Namco. But now, Armored Core 6. The first thing I want to say is I'm not going to go into much of the story, as there are a few spoilers that happen very early in the game. So this is going to be a very brief overview on what you can expect playing through the game and how the story is told, not so much of the specific plot points.
This request comes from Schneider, an Archivist subsidiary.
There's only a few important characters that I'm going to talk about to avoid any and all spoilers. The first one is Handler Walter.
Well, Handler Walter.
Who's pretty much the man in charge, and obviously you, the player character.
Go and check it out.
Now, Handler Walter is responsible for giving you all your missions as you progress through the game. Most of the story is pushed through this dialogue that keeps taking place between the missions, with a few cutscenes sprinkled here and there.
How many of your dogs must I kill before you learn?
There's also a ton of plot progression that occurs through conversations you hear during the missions.
I can't die like this.
And actually, come to think of it, most of the cool moments in the story, besides a few, happen to occur mid-mission. Now the problem with this is that this game is so engaging and the combat is so damn good, which we'll actually get into in a little bit, that it makes it kind of difficult to pay attention to some of these really important plot points. Because think about it, you're controlling your AC, you have a ton of things shooting at you, you're flying up, flying down, trying to dodge this, trying to dodge that, and you hear people chattering over your comm link, which is the least of my worries during these insane battles. But needless to say, the story is easily entertainable. Might not be as in-depth as other games, but it's still a worthy story if you ask me. Again, I'm sorry for this brief, poor excuse for a story review, but I really do not want to give anything away. Remember, it's been 10 years since we got to play a new Armored Core game, so I want to avoid anything that could even be considered a light spoiler. Sorry everyone, you'll just have to play and experience it yourself, I guess. On top of that, I think we should all be honest with each other. Who's here to hear about the story, and who's here to hear about some damn gameplay?
Enough chat, back to work.
Right off the bat, this game is an absolute pleasure to play. The movement alone is just so satisfying. From the basic boost dodge to boosting forward, it all feels so good. The game has a way of making you feel like the man too when you hit that perfect boost dodge or manage to swiftly maneuver through every missile, laser, and the kitchen sink the world has to offer. There were times where I can recall verbally popping off by myself in the room because of some sick dodging I was doing. However, it is a little confusing at first. You'll be flying into every wall possible for the first few missions, but once you get the hang of it, I promise it's a feeling you're not going to forget anytime soon. The lock-on system alone can be a little overwhelming and greatly affects your movement. There are two different lock-ons in the game now, a soft lock and a hard lock. Soft lock will allow you to focus your attacks on many different enemies at once. It also grants you way more freedom with the camera during movement. Hard lock is more for single enemies or boss fights. While you're hard locked, the AC will move with respect to the enemy you're locked onto. This is like your classic Dark Souls lock, where your camera is fixed on the specific enemy. I know all that probably sounds really confusing, but it works, and it works extremely well. You have my word.
Damn it, I can't die like this.
I know I said this already, but I'm probably going to say it again by the time this review is over, but this game is just incredible to play. And a lot of that has to do with its immaculate combat. The combat in Armored Core 6 is by far the best thing it has to offer. Next to spending 17 hours in the garage making sure your AC has a proper weathering effect on the paint. But that's besides the point. There were many times I caught my body physically moving left, right, up or down, like I was actually piloting a damn mech. Adrenaline pumping through the roof mid-battle, trying to balance out my boost meter for proper evasion, while also watching my ammo consumption reload for 3, sometimes 4 different weapons at once. All this going on while getting a barrage of missiles and lasers shot at you. The level of engagement that this game demands from the player is really on another level. I gotta give some more love to FromSoft for that one, because that's just FromSoft being FromSoft. Even if there are occasions where the missions do start to feel a little bit rinse and repeat, which I'll be honest about, more variety would have been graciously accepted. The combat will still push you through 100%, have no fear about that. Now let's just say for some odd reason you do start to get bored of how things are going with the combat. This is when you take that hard-earned cash, which you should be accumulating through the missions you completed, and hit the shop. It's safe to say that I've spent more time in the shop and garage than I have in actual missions. The amount of customizational options you're given is totally bonkers in this game. A lot of these customizations are not for aesthetics only. Many of them will completely change the way your AC operates and feels. And this ties into what I started saying earlier. If the combat missions are beginning to feel a little tiresome, get rid of that basic machine gun and get yourself a long-range laser rifle or something. You're still using missiles? No, we don't do that out here. Give me the purple plasma rockets. After you clocked in some hours zipping around in a reverse joint style mech, supporting a death by 1,000 cuts playstyle, next thing you gotta do is try the tank legs. Tank legs will completely change the way your AC moves, and you also get some heavy artillery up top. If not, maybe you like shooting things from the sky and staying up in the air. If you like that kind of style, cop the tetrapod legs. They'll kind of let you hover around the sky a little bit for a longer period of time, just letting you light these fools up from above. Building a new AC reminds me of switching characters in a fighting game. It creates a totally different feel for the player. Everything has an advantage and disadvantage, obviously. Some playstyles may be more or less beneficial depending on the mission or boss you're working through. Gotta learn these matchups though, that's common no matter what. There's even more to consider once you start taking all the stat options into play for every individual piece on your AC, but I don't want this video to be 3 hours long, so yeah, you get it. Now obviously, this being an Armored Core game, the aesthetic customization is through the roof. You can individually change the color and texture of almost every part of the AC, including the weapons. The weapons also have their own separate color palette and option swaps. Kinda nuts. This really gives you a sense of individualism for playstyle and look. You can really make the AC be your AC. There's even further customization using the OS chip currency you get from completing the arena battles. These chips allow you to further change the way your AC will play. You can grant your AC more damage with a certain weapon type. You're able to unlock different shield options. You can even give your AC a new maneuver or two like the quick turn and boost kick. And before I forget this part, I want to share it now because I found this way later in my playthrough. Once you beat an AI AC in this arena, which the arena will unlock later in the game, so don't worry if you don't see it right away. Now, not only are you rewarded with these OS chip currencies, which can further upgrade your AC, you also unlock the entire build for that AI AC, and you can use it during the missions. You essentially just equip the entire thing, paint job, guns, body, the whole thing. The one caveat to this is that you still need to have all the proper parts unlocked, even if you beat the enemy AC. Now here comes the highlight of Armored Core 6, and that is the boss battles.
You must be Raven.
Jesus Lord, have mercy on our souls.
The infamous handler Walter's hounds.
The boss fights in this game are on another level. Remember how I was talking about the combat making you feel like the man when you do some sick stuff? That feeling is tenfold when you're going up against one of the bosses. Each of these bosses will truly test your skills as a player, making sure you utilize every aspect of the game's diverse mechanics. I spent a good 45 minutes to an hour on a couple of them. Most of this is because I was too stubborn to go back to the garage and change my AC. I'm a little hard-headed, but that's just half the fun for me. However, the garage and shop will be your best friend when you go up against the tougher bosses in the game. One quick tip before we go any further. When you die at a boss, you have an option to restart at the checkpoint or go to the garage. Remember, this is the garage, not the shop. which means you can only equip your AC with things you already own. You cannot buy anything you don't have. So if you want this shield because you believe the shield might get you through the boss, but you don't own the shield, you can obviously not equip the shield at the garage. You must purchase the shield first, and then you will have it at the garage. I wasn't going to say something like this during the review, but I feel like I have to. This is the only part of Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon that reminds me of a Souls game. Everything else is pretty much an Armored Core game through and through, with a little bit of small details changed here and there from the older ones, but the boss fights certainly do scream Dark Souls, or Bloodborne, or whatever you want to call it. Ooh, don't forget about Sekiro. Needless to say, nothing else in this game feels like a Souls game besides the bosses, and honestly, I think it's really a good thing. If you ask me, Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon is a must-buy for people that just enjoy video games. You don't have to be a Dark Souls fan to like this game. You don't have to be an Armored Core fan to like this game. You just need to enjoy what a good video game has to offer you. Because that's exactly what this game is. It is a good, fun, well-made, incredibly feeling video game. Lastly, I'd like to thank everyone who checked out this video. This is the first time in my life that I was able to review a game before it came out, so all your support, everyone watching, for real, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot. Don't forget to leave a comment down there if you have any questions regarding Armored Core 6. I have been playing the game for a little bit now, so I'm sure I'll be able to help you out. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you in the next one.